Hello and welcome to the FLW TV betting show. My name's George Harbey, your host, as always, joined as ever by George Dagless. How you doing, George?
I'm good, George. Hoping this week's picks are going to go a little bit better than last week's from my personal point of view.
Hope so. Ben Wignall, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. We've got a bit of a restricted EFL action this week. We've just a couple of League One and full core League Two. No Championship this week, so still looking forward to it. League Two takes centre stage, really.
Yes, international break means it is only League One and League Two this week, so quite a restricted lineup. So let's get into it. The banker. So, boys, I was the only one with the banker winning last week. The under 2.5 goals in Derby versus Forest. I mean, the odds were quite low. I think they were 1-2, so can't take too much credit there. Dags, what we're gone with today?
I'm going for Bradford to beat Walsall at home in League Two. They're 5-6 on, or they were with Sky Bet last night when I looked. Obviously, Bradford lost away at Leyton Orient last week, but overall they had a very good start, and I expect them to bounce back at Valley Parade really this weekend. Playing a Walsall team that has finally got off the mark actually in terms of getting wins on the board, but I think you just look at the two teams really, and Bradford probably should have too much for them this weekend. I just think Derek Adams will be keen to get his Bantams team to bounce back. So that's my banker. I did actually like the look of Hartlepool winning to 0 against Tranmere at 7-2 as well. But for reasons that I'll get to later on in the show, I haven't picked that as my banker. So I'm going Bradford at home to Walsall.
Well, there's an incentive to stay around. Good pick. Can't really complain about that. Ben Wignall. Was it Sheff Wednesday you had last week against Morecambe? I think, to be fair, I think most of the country did, so I'm not going to rip into you too much. But what have you gone with this week? Can you get back to winning ways this week?
Hopefully, me and Dags have gone for the same. Bradford, I think, obviously, with there's only been 15 games this week, there's not a lot to choose from. But with Bradford, obviously, they've started the season pretty strongly. I know they lost last week to Leyton Orient, but they're another team who I think should be up there at the end of the season. Walsall haven't started that great, and on paper, looking at the two squads, you do have to say that Bradford look a lot stronger all over the park. They've got the FLW League Two Player of the Month, Andy Cook, banging in the goals as well. I wouldn't surprise me if he scored again. They are actually 4-6 now, so they've gone down in price on Sky Bet. But yeah, I think they should be comfortable winners. But I said that last week about Sheffield Wednesday, and that didn't come off. So,
well, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sticking with League Two. Shock. I've gone with both teams to score this week. I'm more of a goals person than the wins person. Mansfield, Harrogate, both teams to score 4-5. Nigel Clough was not happy last week about his team's defending, and hence brought in two defenders. One of them's out for 4 weeks or 2 weeks, so don't see why he's really brought him in. But can't really defend, but also score a lot of goals at home. So Harrogate have also started the season really well. I think they're second in League Two. At the One Call Stadium should be a classic. Both teams to score 4-5, just under evens or above under evens. So you two have gone with wins in Bradford. Now I've gone with both teams to score in Mansfield, Harrogate. As I said, both score a lot of goals, but both concede quite a few. I think it's from the first 5 games. I think they both teams score 4 times out of 5. So the odds are slightly in my favour, but hopefully I keep up my 100% winning record with the banker and get another win this weekend. Right then, accumulator time. Acca time. I think we all went for about 4 or 5 folds last week, which is normally the norm. So I think one might let me down. I think that might have been, I can't remember, but I think one let me down. So 3 out of 4 is not too bad, but you win bugger all anyway. So Dags, Acca time.
Yeah, 4 might be the norm, so I'm going with a threefold this week, or treble to give it its proper name. So I'm starting with Leyton Orient at Newport. Obviously, Orient got a good win against Bradford last time out, and I think potentially it's a good opportunity for Kenny Jackett's men to really show that they're, playoff contenders or even promotion contenders this weekend by winning at Newport. Newport had a little bit of a slow start. They're mid-table, lower half of the table even. So it's a good opportunity for Orient to, really set out a mark against a team that in recent years has often been in that playoff conversation. So I'm going to go for an Orient win there. I'm going for a draw between Bolton and Burton. Both have had pretty solid starts to the season. I think both will feel as though they could potentially challenge for the playoffs. So I can see them maybe cancelling each other out this weekend. And finally, I've gone for an MK Dons win at Cheltenham. MK Dons are top scorers in League One at the moment, and Cheltenham have got the second worst defence in League One at this early stage. So I think there could be just a nice recipe there for the away team to get a victory. That trebles £26, 12 pence to £1. So we'll call it 26 to 1. And I think it's pretty decent return really for a threefold.
It is, to be fair. It is. Ben Wignall, what we've got for the Acca?
Well, hopefully I get more than one last week. I think I only had QPR and the rest let me down. Forest Green, I think that was yours as well. It let you down, was it not? Forest Green, Harbey. 2-0 down after 9 minutes. That wasn't great. First, I've gone with 1 in League One and 3 in League Two. It's got a fourfold. It pays about 17 to 1. I've got Accrington to beat Shrewsbury at home. Shrewsbury have not started the season too well, but they did beat Gillingham last weekend at home to get the season off the mark. Even though it was remembered for a massive scrap at the end with Steve Evans and everyone involved, rather than the actual football. Accrington looked pretty solid. I know they lost to MK Dons last week, but MK Dons have got quite a few good strikers for this level. Accrington are actually missing Dion Charles. He's with Northern Ireland this week. But I think they've still got Colby Bishop and they've got Joel Mumbongo on loan from Burnley. So I think they've got enough to probably get a win there. I'm pretty confident in that one. League Two, I've stuck the banker on there, Bradford. We've already spoke about Colchester as well at home to Sutton. A lot of Colchester's games so far have been quite cagey, 1-1s, 2-1s, and they've got a 0-0 as well. They drew on Friday against Rochdale, which wasn't a bad result. Rochdale, pretty solid team for this level. Colchester have got a lot of effective players going forward. You've got Sears, Newblay, and Jasper on loan from Fulham. So I think they could be too strong for Sutton, who are still probably getting to grips with this level, even though they've got a few decent draws under the belt. And my final pick looks like it could be a risky one because they've not started great, is Bristol Rovers. Now, obviously, they've had a poor start, but they're playing another team who've had a poor start in Crawley Town. And I just feel at some point they've got to click, and they got a win against Cheltenham in the EFL Trophy in midweek. It was a bit of a chase team, but I think it should give the whole club a bit of confidence going forward. And they've got some really talented players like Brett Pittman, Aaron Collins, who are really good for League Two level. So hopefully Bristol Rovers get that win, and we might get another uncut Johnny M's interview where he goes mad at his players and the whole world.
Yeah, that's what the world's made for. That's what you love to see. What were the odds on that one, Ben? Sorry,
about 17 to 1.
Not bad. Decent odds for an Acca again. Well, I'd say great minds think alike, but I mean, to be fair, we've not had much free reins on this week because of the lack of selections. But I've got my banker, so I put the Mansfield both teams scoring. I put the Bradford win in. I've also put Accrington win in. I think it doesn't really seem... I know Shrewsbury beat Gillingham last time out, but it doesn't seem too much of a happy camp. And I don't know if you've seen Steve Cotterill have a go at the journalist the other night. That was quite amusing. If we're going to talk about manager outbursts, basically a journalist asked him if he signed anyone and he had a go at him. So don't know what happened there. I've also gone with Exeter Forest Green. Both seem to score. Now, I'd simply just put they both score goals. Exeter's last few games, 1-1, 4-1, 3-0. Forest Green, 6-3, 2-1, 3-1, 2-1. It's not a local derby, but it's, relatively as much of a local derby going to get in that league, with Cheltenham going up and also Plymouth not in the league. So should be a good game. As I said, both teams very good going forward. Don't seem like they've got the best defensive record at the back. I just think that one is a decent shout. And also, as I said as well, Bradford to win at home to Walsall. That's 9.6 to 1, which sounds quite underwhelming compared to yours too. But fourfold 9 to 1, £10 returns you £96, £106.
Well, about 106 of that, yeah.
There you go. I should turn it into decimals because that's easy to work out. So there we go. There's our Accas. And now we're going to move on to our value tip. Yes, the value tip where we think that the bookies have really underestimated a certain selection, and where we see value in the selection. So, George Douglas, what's tickled your fancy this week? Can you spot a bargain anywhere?
Well, hopefully. I mean, one that did catch my eye was that Harrogate were 3-1 last night on Sky Bet away at Mansfield, which I think if you look at the league table, Harrogate are second and Mansfield have lost their last 2 games, and they've got Mansfield at odds on, which I think is perhaps a little bit risky. So Harrogate, I think at 3-1 is worth a look. But the one I've actually picked is an 8-1 odd, 8-1 shot. Northampton 0, Scunthorpe 0. Neither have scored a particularly high amount of goals so far this year. Northampton's only scored 3, only conceded 3 as well. And Scunthorpe have scored just 4 from 1 extra game and conceded 5. So neither have really been involved in too many games where there's been a lot of action at either end of the pitch. So yeah, I'm going to go for a boring 0-0 draw between those 2 teams. Obviously back similar last week between Derby and Forest. I got the draw right, but didn't get the score right. So we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, it looked like it'd be a 0-0 game, to be fair. So I can't blame you there. Ben, what have you gone with for your value tip this week?
I've gone with Exeter, who are 15-8 at home to Forest Green. Now, I know Forest Green had a very good start to the season, but last week they had a bit of a wobble against Port Vale. And I just think that Exeter, obviously, I think you mentioned Harbey before, they've scored a lot of goals so far this season. I think them having the home advantage, it could bring a bit more strength out to them against Forest Green, who obviously have a few issues in defence, as evidenced last week. Obviously, they're good going forward. Exeter obviously lost Joel Randall and Randall Williams over the summer, but I think they've recruited well, but also brought, like they always do, a few decent youth players through. And I think the likes of, I'll talk about my wildcard in a minute, but Matt Jay, he's a player you'd expect to bag in a game like this. So Extra at 15-8, almost 2-1. I think that's overpricing them a little bit. Forest Green are favourites for this one with the bookies, and I don't necessarily agree with that.
Very interesting. We'll see if that comes in. My value tip, and apologies to Chris Thorpe if he's watching live. I've gone with Oxford to win at AFC Wimbledon. They're 29-20, which is, for me, I think Oxford have started the season really well. You know, they've won 3 of the last 4 games rather convincingly, 3-1, 1-0. Decent away from home. Wimbledon haven't won haven't picked up a win in the last 4. I just seem to think Oxford are that team in League One every year who do really well, and they've been a strong League One team for a few years now. I just think, and I never really like backing away wins, to be honest, but I just think Oxford are decent on the road, made some decent signs over the course of the summer, and I just think that, I don't know, that price to me just seems interesting, and I was tempted to put them in my accumulator, to be fair, but I just think that 29-20, and I'm sure you can get it in higher on other bookmakers. We're not sponsored by Sky Bet, so make sure you have a look elsewhere. But I just think that's a really big price. So whether I'm being a genius or I've just seen a high price and gone for it, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Right then, let's move on to our final section of the week, which is our wild card. Yeah, bit of fun with this one. The wild card, basically where we think of I bet we think it's going to come in, otherwise we wouldn't put money on it. But just one we think is a bit of fun and a bit out there, shall we say? As explained by George Dagless in his bets, no doubt. George, what are you gone with?
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with this one. I found it obviously depends on the player playing, but I've gone for Josh Hawkes to be first goal scorer and Tranmere to win 1-0 against Hartlepool United. Hawkes arrived earlier this week on loan from Sunderland. He's a former Hartlepool player, so there's a bit of incentive there to potentially get a goal against his former team. Tranmere obviously haven't scored many goals at all so far this season. They've only got 1 in the league. So he's obviously come in there to try and help them in the attacking sense. I just think it's a sort of a written in the stars kind of bet where Hawkes goes in there and providing he does actually get on the pitch and comes into the team straight away, could get a first goal, decide the game, and hopefully start to show for Tranmere that he's going to be a good signing on loan. And obviously Sunderland will want to see him do well there as well. So yeah, I've gone for that one. Obviously you look at the detail and it's a little bit of a risky punt as well, but I think at 45-1 it could be worth a a couple of quid at least just to consider. So yeah, that's my wild card for this week.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I think you're sticking with the goal scorer theme, aren't you, Ben?
Yeah, well, the match result, both teams to score angle didn't really go well last week. So I've gone with an anytime goal scorer treble. I think they're quite fun, obviously, to follow, because you want to see a lot of goals when you're a neutral. I've gone with similar like Dags, a player that used to play for this club, Mo Isa. He started the season well for MK Dons since signing from Peterborough. He's coming up against Cheltenham this weekend, who he played for a few years ago, and I'm backing him to score any time. Tyler Bury is another player who's started very well for Hartlepool on loan from Millwall, young player. I think he scored 3 goals in 4 games, and I think he might bag. Obviously, that would ruin Dags' bet, but he seems to be in very good form. And also a player I just mentioned before, Matt J for Exeter. He always seems to be in and around the goals, whether it's scoring or assisting. And Exeter have obviously they've got a few draws so far this season, but they've seemed to know where the back of the net is. So Matt J, Tyler Bury, and Mo Isa all to score anytime pays about 28 to 1. So stick a fiver on that, you'll get about £150 or so back.
That is an interesting one to keep up with, to be fair. I might have a similar bet this weekend. But I've been accused of being too safe with my bets this week and last. So I've gone with a very much an out there one this week. I've said there's going to be goals in Mansfield and Exeter. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. When I say money, I probably put 50p on this. Mansfield versus Harrogate and Exeter Forest Green. Both teams to score in both halves. So that means it's at least got to be 2-2 because, yeah. And that is a whopping 220 to 1. As I said, I won't put more than 50p on that if I do put a bet on it. But I've said there's going to be goals, and I just think the return of fans has made it really exciting. I think the score, Forest Green Exeter, was very high scoring at half time as well. So Forest Green Crawley, sorry. So I don't know. As I said, I've just gone with a feeling this week. Both teams score goals. Mansfield, especially at home, they get right behind them and score a lot of goals, but they've conceded a few, to Bradford, and they've conceded in their first 2 home wins of the season as well. So, interesting one. Both teams score both halves, 220 to 1 on Sky Bet. And they're working about 16 to 1 each, or 16 to 1, 14 to 1. So there's my wild card for the week. And also that brings an end to the Football League World TV betting show for this week. As I said, League 1 and League 2, the Championship's not in action because of the international break, but hopefully we've picked out a few winners there. And hopefully we make some money. Boys, thank you very much for joining us. Me and Dags are back later for the weekend preview show at 2 o'clock. But without further ado, see you later.